Okay, so we will continue with the 2016 question paper and we will try to complete this. All the case studies, I think 6 case studies are there. We will try to complete it in this session itself. Okay, and then what we can do is we can go through some other case studies from tomorrow. And once we complete this paper, we will also see the 2020 question paper. And once the exam is over, we'll take up the discussion later. Okay, so if you see the first question, this first case study here, a fresh engineering graduate gets a job in prestigious chemical industry. She likes the work. The salary is also good. However, after a few months, she accidentally discovers that a highly toxic waste is being secretly discharged into the river nearby. So this is going to be the important point here. This is causing serious health problems to the villagers downstream who depend on the river for their water needs. Okay, so now she is perturbed and mentioned her concern to her colleagues who have been with the company for longer periods. They advise her to keep quiet as anyone who mentioned the topic is summarily dismissed. What you can see from here is they have been working with the company for some time, for longer period, and they know that if you report this or if you take up this as an issue, they will be dismissed. So it is better to keep quiet. That is the advice which is actually given by the colleagues. She cannot risk her job. Okay, she cannot lose her job as she is the sole breadwinner of her family and has to support her ailing parents and siblings. At first, she thinks that if her seniors are keeping quiet, why should she stick out her neck? But her conscience pricks. Okay, and pricks her to do something to save the river and the people who depend upon it. So here you will have to take care of environment and also the other people. Okay, at heart she feels that the advice of silence given by her friends is not correct, though she cannot give reasons for it. So she know that this is anyway not going to be correct because her conscience will say something and you are going to do something reverse. So I've told you one situation, this is where you experience what? Cognitive dissonance. So that is something which you can bring in your answer anyway. Okay, now she thinks you are a wise person and seeks your advice. Now what arguments can you advance to show her that keeping quiet is not morally right? So what arguments you can tell her keeping quiet is not morally correct? What course of action would you advise her to adopt and why? So you need to tell, okay, why it is not morally correct and what kind of action that you need to do. So again, this is totally left out to you. So what we need to see here is this basically similar to one of the case study that we have discussed before also. The question is related to the personal values, right here the conscience is given personal values and also public at large, right? People are in risk. Okay, so the larger, okay, so it is a public interest also, personal values there, public interest is there versus the organizational interest, the company in which you're working. So the company don't want to disclose this, but at the same time your personal interest and also from the side of public interest. So this is the dilemma. So what is the dilemma? Your personal conscience, your conscience is telling you to do something for this, for the public and also for the environment. At the same time, organizational interest, right? So this is the case. Now, what you need to do here, it has been clear that the conscience is saying something and your friends are recommending something or the colleagues are recommending something. So the first point that you need to do here is you need to tell that if you're following the friends at this stage, there will be a problem with cognitive dissonance when your mind says something and when you're doing something different, and that is going to create problems for you for a long term and you won't be able to live peacefully, right? So something which is already there in your mind that this is going to create huge damage not only to the river, but at the same time those people, the vulnerable people who are depending on the river for their drinking water and everything, will be getting affected. And knowing that, keeping silence is not going to do good for you personally also for a long time, as you won't get peace, right? So this is something which you can write. And also, not keeping silence is not a good idea. You can do something from the perspective of utilitarianism, right? We have discussed about teleological approach or utilitarianism. What is that? Maximum good for maximum people. So here, if you see, organization is getting benefit, but more than that, one community is getting suffered. So if you look at this, utilitarian principle also will tell you to do something against this, right? And you can see here clearly that the company is not doing anything for these people, or company is not doing anything, and it is based on completely the greed and the materialistic interest of the company. The company could have done something proper discharge, or anything can be done by the company, the technology or whatever it is possible the company could have done, but still they're trying to take the easy route, and thereby affecting or damaging the life of the poor and the vulnerable, and also the damage is caused for the river and the environment, right? So this is because of the greed of the company, and this is clearly because of the materialistic approach of the company. So these are the points that you can highlight over there, and what you need to do is, you can say the course of action that you need to do here is selfless duty. You need to do here, you may be dismissed, but when you do selfless duty, you have to make sure that you are following the procedures, like the organizational, you're also doing something good, or you will talk to the authorities, talk to the seniors, like that you can say. So you can use the word, you will go for Nishkama Karma, or selfless duty here, right? And you can also say that you will talk to this first you will talk to your colleagues regarding the issue, and you will make them aware about the consequences and the seriousness of the problem. They might be knowing this, but still you can write one line that first you will talk to your colleagues regarding this issue. And also what you can say is, you can talk to the management and the seniors or the superiors. You need to talk, obviously. Don't think that they might be knowing it already, so there is no point in writing this point. No, you can do that. That is also a procedure, something which you need to follow, right? So any answer we have to write in that procedure and in that format itself. So you can also write the same thing, that you can talk to the seniors, you can talk to the higher management, so that they will do something. And if not, so you are following that procedures, you have talked to the seniors, and that internal mechanisms, first you have to exhaust all the internal mechanisms which are available to you. Once those internal mechanisms are over, then only you need to look for legal actions. So this way you can also go for NGO, or you can take legal action through police also, right? You can inform the police, and you can start, or you can take legal measures. You can also talk to the environment related NGOs, and they will also take care of this issue, right? And also, most importantly, you have to create an awareness among the villagers who are using this water. So that is again very important, so that you need to make them understand the problem and the issue that is actually going to happen. So this is what you can actually do. So the point here is, if you keep quiet, what will happen? It is actually against your conscience, so you will experience that dissonance, cognitive dissonance. Okay, and it is against your values, right? So that is one thing, and it is not good for public, and not also good for you as a person, right? And if you do this, what we have discussed now, that you are doing a selfless duty, keeping in mind the utilitarian principles, that the maximum good is done for maximum number of people. With your action, if it can be done, that is going to be a good ethical action, right? So for that, you first followed the organizational procedure, you have exhausted all the internal remedies which are possible. You talk to your colleagues, and you talk to your superiors and the management and all. If not, final course is what you're going to do with the help of NGOs, and also the village people, and also with the police. Okay, and understand, this is an act which is done with a good faith, and this is an act which is going to produce or do good for maximum number of people. So this is totally an ethical action. And also, your conscience, you're following your conscience, so that is more important. So that's about the first one.
Hello, sir.
Huh.
So in that case study, it also mentioned that whoever mentions the topic is going to be fired. So only
Which one?
talk is
Which one?
that. Also it has been mentioned that whoever mentions the topic only itself, he is going to or she is going to be fired from the
Huh.
job.
Huh, huh, huh.
So only talk is this necessity solution, or we need to provide some beneficial things to the company by uh, adding that if company is doing something, then he's going to return back something. Only that type of things, or only will use that talk word to means to continue with the seniors or to the management or to the colleagues.
Huh, this is what possible. No, what else is possible? That is what I have mentioned. That you can, what maximum you can do, you can talk to the colleagues and then you can talk to the seniors. But beyond that, what you can do. But at the same time, you have to take care of these people also, and that is your social responsibility and also your legal responsibility. Okay, so that's why even though you might be facing some problem, but still we have made sure that you face very less damage because you are following the organizational procedure. Now you see, once you follow the procedure, and if you are in a formal sector, if things are good, if the procedures are followed, nobody can fire you actually. And if the act is done with a good intention, bona fide intention, then there is no problem.
Okay.
But still, whatever innovative things you can write here, obviously you can write, but this is what everybody will do. This is a general standard answer which I have told you. Nothing more we can do in those kinds of case study. We cannot say that we will keep quiet, right? Obviously you cannot say that you will keep quiet in that situation, but that is one option. Keeping quiet is one option, but the other option is this: you have to do this thing. You have to bring it into the public, because anyway you try to do something with the company, they will not let you disclose these things anyway.
So my question was like, how we can mold that our seniorities, or that if we are going to do this job, we are
Hmm.
going to get some benefit for the company, so that it will be easy for the persuasion. Is there any
Yeah.
point we
So
can?
that is what. See, one thing is that you are talking to your superiors, and they already know this, and they might have tried it, and it may not be possible to come up with the technology. Maybe because of cost, they might be thinking that this is easier and cheaper to discharge things like this. So maybe some reason is there. That's the reason why for a long period the same thing is actually happening, right? But we don't know what the innovative measures we can do here. As an employee, you can maybe say that we can do some technological improvement, technological support we can use for the discharge of these things, rather than creating pollution and damage to the rivers. But still, what, that is a question here. Okay, so next question: land needed for mining, dams and other okay, mining, dams and other large scale projects is acquired mostly from Adivasis. Okay, so this is going to be a case, right, of growth versus development discussion, right? Now this group is what actually mostly suffered with respect to any developmental projects, whether it is multi-purpose projects or dams or any construction infrastructure. The tribes or the Adivasis are generally suffered, and they will be displaced also. We have seen this kind of situations before also. So this is a question which is going to be clearly looking for growth versus development debate, or the development versus displacement. When there is a development, when there is growth, the some sections are not getting the benefit of that, and they are actually displaced from their area. That is actually going to happen here. Okay, so Adivasis, hill dwellers and rural communities, displaced persons are paid monetary compensation. Now see here, whenever displacement is there, whenever monetary compensation they are offering, there will definitely be a problem with respect to monetary compensation. It may not be adequate. So this is one of the problem that you will see in any compensation. It may not be adequate. At the same time, it may not be timely. Okay, so you need to make sure that adequate and timely compensation, that should be one line if they're asking you some policy that you need to make. One point that you need to keep in mind in case there is a displacement is there. So adequate and timely. Adequate means what? It has to be at the market value, or at par with market value, or even slightly more than market value will also be good if you can write. Okay, okay. Now as per the legal provisions, however, the payment is often tardy. In any case, it cannot sustain the displaced families for long. These people do not possess marketable skills. Obviously, this is going to be one of the other problems. This also you need to address. You see, even though this is not mentioned, you can understand when Adivasis are displaced, now they will become migrants, right? When they migrate, they will be migrating to some area where they have no idea about the culture and they are unskilled people. They will be exploited like anything in terms of employment, and they will be landing up in this manual scavenging and all these, right? So that point has to be there in your mind, even if this is not discussed in a case where this displacement is going to come, especially with respect to the tribes. Okay. Skills to engage in some other occupation. They end up as low paid migrant laborers. Moreover, their development go to industries, industrialist, and urban communities, whereas the costs are passed on to these poor, helpless people. This unjust distribution of cost and benefit is unethical. Suppose you have been entrusted with the task of drafting a better compensation cum rehabilitation policy for such displaced persons. How would you approach the problem, and what would be the main elements of your suggestion? See, actually, this is an easy question because there is no dilemma or anything. This is a situation where you are going to draft a compensation cum rehabilitation policy. So what you need to say is mainly you have to look from larger perspective, and you have to make sure that what I've told you, like there has to be proper compensation, adequate compensation. Most of the time compensation won't be adequate. The market value and what the compensation which is fixed may not be equal. It might be underestimated. So that is one thing that you need to make sure. At the same time, timely payment is required. Okay, so that is what you need to talk with respect to compensation. And also you can say that to make it timely, you can go for DBT, direct benefit transfer, and also to avoid leakages, right? And all these things you can this is one suggestion that you can bring in general studies. Also you can talk about the same only. Okay. And then with respect to rehabilitation, this is again a big situation and the big problem that we need to address here. When you go for rehabilitation, it has to be not only physical rehabilitation. Physical rehabilitation is something which can be done easily when you are paying the compensation and rehabilitation, but also psychological rehabilitation, very important. Cultural rehabilitation, if they are rehabilitated, it has to be in a similar area, with they will be in a position to perform the similar kind of occupation. Otherwise, what is the problem? They don't have much skills and they will get exploited over the other area. So that also, and if you cannot do that, you can also say that you have to give them training, as it is clearly mentioned in the question itself. They're lacking the skills. So you can say that the problem with that can be managed by providing some vocational training in the during the time of displacement, so that they will be able to find some better employment. And also one more point that you can write in this situation is the share of development, the benefit of the growth should also be passed on to these people. So you have to make sure that some arrangement has been done to take care of that provision also. So this is a points which has to be come in your answer with respect to compensation and rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is what you need to stress more. Compensation, it is nothing. What you need to say is it has to be timely and also adequate. So timely and adequate compensation, without any delay. It has to be at the market value. So that is about with respect to compensation and rehabilitation. Anything more you want to see? This is again very subjective. Whatever good points is coming to you, you can add. Apart from this vocational training, cultural rehabilitation, whatever is coming to you, it's open to you, that you need to add here, and make sure that the answer is unique and it is going to be good. Okay, now this is a question. Suppose you're an officer in charge of implementing a social service scheme to provide support to old and destitute women. So this scheme is for old and destitute women. An old and illiterate woman comes to you to avail the benefits of the same or of the scheme. However, she has no documents to show that she fulfilled the eligibility criteria. So I think we have done similar kind of question in before also. So there is no document to prove her eligibility. But after meeting her and listening to her, you feel that she certainly needs support. Your inquiries also show that she's really destitute. So the scheme is for whom? Old and destitute. And you have made an inquiry and you know that she is destitute and also old. So she is fit for the scheme. In fact, she deserves that. But the problem here is no eligibility criteria. So yeah, we have discussed a similar kind of situation, and I've told you you can talk to your seniors and you can talk to the minister and you can come up with some alternative schemes, etc. Similar situation we have seen before also. Okay, now here the problem is you are in a dilemma as to what to do. See, as per duty, what you need to do, as per your rules, you have to follow the procedure. Now, why these procedures and all these things are there? Otherwise, what will happen? Leakages will happen. So to avoid leakages only, the government schemes are coming up with certain eligibility criteria, right? So as a officer, as a responsible officer, it is your duty and responsibility to follow the rules. But at the same time, you also need to check whether there is a special case, okay, whether there is a possibility of discretion, etc. Now we'll come to that. So you are in a dilemma as to what to do. Putting her under the scheme without necessary document would clearly be violation of rules, but denying her the support would be cruel and inhuman, right? Can you think of a rational way to resolve this dilemma? Give your reason for it. So here they're actually asking for a rational way, what you can do here, how can you solve this situation. So here you see the first question, if when it comes to this kind of situation, you can talk about empathy, or more than empathy, what you can use here, compassion, right? Compassion in public service. So this is the most important. And also it's like citizen friendly or citizen centric administration. See, the administration and the governance and everything is for the public, so, or the citizens. So it has to be citizen centric. And if you understood and if you're able to identify that this person also satisfy or require the support, but the mere problem with respect to the eligibility criteria or the document should not be a reason for excluding her from the benefit if she really deserve it and in need of it. Okay, that is second point that you need to mention here. And see, this is either you can stick to your duty. Okay, either you can stick to your duty and do only that, or you can go beyond your duty and you can do something supererogation. That is what the word you can use in ethics. Supererogation means beyond duty you do something more than that. And here they're actually asking for rational way, that means out of the box thinking. So here obviously an administrator, civil servant, or an officer in charge of this kind of situation definitely be in a position to think out of the box, because definitely this kind of problems will come, right? And you can treat it as a special case. So you have to search for, is there any special case? If not mentioned in the case study, you can simply say, you can talk to the senior and you can talk to the concerned minister and you can try to find a scheme. If not, you will try to find any other scheme where she can be incorporated. Okay, now so what you will do in the situation, if she's in immediate help, what you can do here is like you can talk to some NGOs or you can go with some old age homes, etc., to take care of her. And by the time you can also make some arrangement to incorporate her within the scheme. So you can collect whatever documents is available with her, whether the Aadhaar card or voter ID or whatever possible or available documents are there. With that you can try to do something. Okay, and immediately register her so that you can get all the documents which is actually required to fulfill the eligibility criteria, and which also you can do it from your side. Now see, this is something, is not only the problem with respect to this woman alone. Maybe many old and destitute women are there, they are unaware of this scheme which is going on. Also some of them don't have the the proof to show the eligibility. So what you can do is, for a long term, what you can do is you can go for a awareness campaign. Okay, entire district you can launch a district wide drive, so that all the excluded people or the eligible people will come and get the benefit of it, so that awareness can also be created. That is a long term measure that you can mention here. Okay, so what you're doing here, you are not only doing your duty, anyway you're doing your duty, but at the same time there's also a responsibility as a citizen. Otherwise, see, your mind says that you need to help her, but the rules are different. So again, you will face the problem of cognitive dissonance. So that should not be there. And you have to follow with your conscience, and the compassion is very important. So that are the points which you can mention here. So you need to do something beyond your duty, right? So supererogatory action is required. So that will basically ensure that it is ethical. There's an ethical handling of the case, right? So something, these are the case where you have to go beyond the rule. But going beyond the rule to satisfy the interest of the poorest of the people, you remember that Gandhi's maxim that we have discussed, that the last man in the last row should also get the benefit, right? So that if you can do, it will be good. One other quote also I have told you with respect to Gandhi: whether your action is going to do something for the most vulnerable person, then your action is ethical. So here, if you are able to help that person, that is going to be really great. Okay, next one. You are a young, aspiring, and sincere employee in a government office working as an assistant to the director of your department. Since you have joined recently, you need to learn and progress. Luckily, your superior is very kind and ready to train you for your job. He's a very intelligent and well-informed person having knowledge of your area's department. So your superior is good and you're an assistant and the superior is ready to help you, then I don't know what is the problem that you're going to face here. In short, you respect your boss and are looking forward to learn a lot from him. Since you have good tuning with the boss, he started depending on you. One day, due to ill health, he invited you at his place for finishing some urgent work. You reached at his house, and before you could ring the bell, you heard shouting noises. You waited for a while. After entering the house, the boss greeted you and explained the work. But you were constantly disturbed by the crying of a woman. At last, you inquired with the boss, but his answer did not satisfy you. Next day, you were compelled to inquire further in the office and found that his behavior is very bad at home with his wife. He also beats up his wife. His wife is not well educated and is a simple woman in comparison to her husband. So you need to have compassion with this lady also, just because it's like a vulnerable situation. You see that though your boss is a nice person in the office, he is engaged in domestic violence at home. Okay, so there is a legal responsibility also now from your side. In such situation, you are left with the following options. Now analyze each option with its consequence. So they have been given you the option, so there is no problem. You need to just tell the merits and demerits of each option. So what you need to do, take A, merits and demerits, B, merits and demerits, like that you need to write here. So just ignore the thinking about it. Just ignore thinking about it because it is their personal matter. Yeah, this is something which is their personal matter, so you don't want to interfere in that. This is one option. Report the case to the appropriate authority. This is another option. Your own innovative approach towards the situation. See, in my opinion, always than going with these two, don't support any of these two. You can explain the merits and demerits and give a very good option from your side and write the merits and demerits. So if you can do that, that will fetch you more marks. So the point here is A, talk about the positives and negatives. B, talk about the positives and negatives. C, create an option which is your own, and it should have more merits and demerits, more merits than the demerits, which can solve the problem in a pragmatic way also. Okay, so I don't think that you will face any problem with respect to A and B. So this is a case of what? Your professional well-being, right? That is one thing, because if you follow the superior and you're already in good term with the superior, so there is no problem. So simply if you sit quiet, your professional things will be taken care. But at the same time, this is your responsibility, legal responsibility, that the domestic violence, that actually happening. So some violence have been seen, and that becomes your legal responsibility now as a citizen. Also, You can say social responsibility, because a very vulnerable person, that lady, compared to your boss. So that is a dilemma here. Okay. Now the question is whether you want to interfere in their personal matter. So you can give the arguments in support of that, and you can also give argument demerits of that, because if you interfere in this, what will happen? You may have to compromise on your professional things. You're already in good relation or good terms with the boss, so that may get affected. But otherwise, what is a merit? Is there any merit here? If you ignore it, there may be, you will feel good, right? Your conscience will be feeling bad, so your conscience is saying that this is not good, but for your professional benefit you are ignoring that. So this reason is something which is personal to you. You can write that there is no specific reason which is required from your side. But see, one thing is that it is your responsibility as a citizen. Keep these points in mind. This is anyway your responsibility, and don't ever say that you will go away from this responsibility. So the first option, the demerit, is that it is your responsibility and you're ignoring that by thinking that it is their personal matter. So it is anyway is not that a good option. At the same time, the vulnerable section, you have to protect them. It is your social responsibility as well, and right of the woman is actually violated here, right? And this is again loss of your integrity. So these are the points you can write in these two as merits and demerits. And obviously you can talk about the point of cognitive dissonance, that you will feel and you feel guilt and justice is not served. All these are the points which you can write. Okay. And what about reporting it to the appropriate authority? The good thing is that when you report it to the appropriate authority, they may take action, they may not take action, but you can feel that you have reported at least. Secondly, advantage for you is the boss is not going to know that you have done this. Okay, so it may not affect your professional relation. So you can remain anonymous and you can report it to the authority. But the problem is they may or may not take action, and it will continue also. That is a demerit. Now, what innovative measure you can do? This is something, I hope you understood the situation, and this is something which you need to do here. There is nothing what I can discuss. See, the maximum, just for the sake of saying, we can say that you will talk to the superior. See, way high position he is in, but still, this is what you can actually do. You will talk to the superior, you will make him aware that the issue or what is actually happening, this is not good, this is legally wrong, right? And you can talk about this persuasion that we have discussed. Okay, so through that you can try to change the attitude, and you can also tell that in your family this issue is going on. It will also affect your professional relations, right? So your mental situation and your professional relations, and it will affect your relations with the staff and everything. These are things which you can mention. And at the same time, if you are having issues with the wife, in different other ways it will be connected in terms of in-laws and the child, and all these are the dimensions in which you need to bring in this debate. Okay, so that is what one way. Now again, it's up to you. So ignoring issue, it is totally unethical. Reporting, it's like just for the sake of doing something, you have done something, but here you're doing something, right? And what you're doing, you're actually talking to the superior. And finally, if he is not ready or willing to listen, and or after doing all this, you can go with legal action also. You can inform the police, right? So that is what you can actually tell. Or you can make that lady also aware about her rights, and you can make her aware about the laws which are there in the country. So so but first, obviously, you talk to the superior and make him change. Persuasion is what you can go with. You can take him to some counseling, etc. These are like anger management, tension management, etc. You can say. But see, whether you don't think that whether this is practical, is this going to be correct as a junior person, and that person is so much superior, is it going to be a good answer. No, don't think like that. These are the standard ways in which you need to write whatever it is. Otherwise there is no other option. You have to talk to that person, you have to make him aware of the situation. That shows your character and maturity, no?
Sir, is it okay to talk with that lady without, because she was completely
That you
unknown
see,
to.
you can make her aware about her rights. The company ABC Limited is a large transnational company having diversified business activities with a huge shareholder base. The company is continuously expanding in expanding, generating employment. The company, in its expansion and diversification program, decides to establish a new plant at XYZ area. This area is underdeveloped. Okay, so now this is going to get benefit for this region. Actually, the new plant is designed to use energy efficient technology, so it is not going to affect the environment. That will help the company to save production cost. Also, it is going to help the company. It is going to help the company at the same time with minimum damage to the environment. The company's decision goes well with the government policy of attracting investment to develop such underdeveloped regions. So government is also telling the companies to invest in these underdeveloped regions. What will happen so that the benefit of growth will reach to the sections also. The government has, if you see most of the PSUs which were opened at that time, it is basically to tackle the problem of regional disparity, right? In the underdeveloped areas only the PSUs mostly were established. That is the reason here. That is the reason at that time, and here also they are talking about the same. The government has also announced tax holiday for 5 years for the companies that invest in underdeveloped areas. So the company is going to get this benefit in terms of tax holiday for 5 years. However, new plan may bring chaos for the inhabitants of Vigaspuri region, which is otherwise tranquil. The new plan may result in increased cost of living. Okay, see, many people may come, so the culture may change, so cost of living may change. Aliens migrating to the regions, so my immigration will be there, disturbing the social and economic order. Okay, so this is a problem that that region is actually going to face. So here, see, all these you need to turn it into advantage. Okay, the company sensing the possible protest try to educate the people of Vigaspuri region and public in general that how its CSR policy would help to overcome the likely difficulties in the residents of Vigaspuri region. So whatever difficulty that you face, companies making sure that the company will take it or manage it through the CSR fund. In spite of this, the protest began and some of the residents decided to approach the judiciary as their plea before the government did not yield any result. So they approached the government, did no result. Now they are going to approach the judiciary. Identify the issues involved in the, what is the issue involved here? It is directly given. It is going to increase the cost of living, migrations, and disturbing social and this is clearly given. Okay. Now, what can be suggested to satisfy the company's goals and to address the residents' concern? Simply, how you are going to solve this issue, right? So the problems are crystal clear here. Now here also the question is with respect to development versus social justice. So when development is there, the other sections are now going to be affected in terms of this. But what you can do is you can go for persuasion. You can tell and you can explain, or you can make them aware that these things are actually going to do good for them. What will happen over a period of time, they will get employment, and they will get their children's, and everybody is going to get better education, better healthcare facilities, schools will come, hospitals will come, right? Employment opportunities will be created, and also the land cost will increase, so that they are going to get the advantage of that. So, and they will have a mixed culture that is also maybe good for them. So these are advantages that you can uh, tell them, right? So cost of living may increase, but there will be a lot of other advantages, right? The life chances, the quality of life will also increase, and they will once they get good employment and all, then this cost of living may not be a big issue also. So what we need to do here, mainly persuasion technique, right? So anyway, it is actually supported by the government, right? It is based on government policy, and also not going to make much harm to the environment. So it, in a way, we need to support this. So we have to go for persuasion, and we have to convince the people with respect to the positives of this. You can tell that the government is also monitoring everything, and the government will stand by you. And for this, you can seek the help of NGOs. You can tell that NGOs, uh, for you can talk to NGOs, and once NGOs are talking to the people, that will ensure the credibility, and also people will believe more. And there has to be proper compensation. If the cost of living is increasing, then somehow you have to uh, manage it, right? So there has to be some compensation, and that they are anyway going to do through CSR. So you also have to go with that. But mostly you need to talk about what the positives which the company, the there's already underdeveloped region. So this region will get benefit out of this. Trickle down will happen, right? Trickle down means when the company is growing, the people nearby also will grow in terms of better facilities. The quality of life will also increase. So these are the points which you need to write here, and spread the message to people. Also make them aware about the positives of migration. See, once more and more people are migrating, actually you will have more scope now, right? You have more opportunities. And these are the points that you can say, and anything more if you want to, you can add also. Because see, you can see a lot of positives here. Energy efficient technology, so you cannot stop this anyway. You need to promote this. Energy efficient technology is coming, and this is a chance to get that. The government policies are also in support to that. Company will also get benefit in terms of tax holiday. So everybody is actually going to benefit, right? So then what the employment opportunities will be obviously created, and who will get the maximum benefit out of it? It is the local population who's going to get the maximum benefit out of it. So see, from the company side, there is no greed, nothing like what we have discussed in the previous case. So the business ethics is fine. At the same time, social ethics, the CSR, they are also, the company itself is making the citizen aware about that. Social ethics are also followed, right? So that means this will lead to communitarianism, and also, since this is there, no damage to environment, so sustainable development, and also maximum good for maximum people. Everybody is going to get the benefit. So this is the point that you need to highlight in your answer. Okay, so next one. Saraswati was a successful IT professional in US. Moved by the patriotic sense of doing something for the country, she returned to India. So she was doing some good job and returned to India. Together with some other like-minded friends, she formed an NGO. Now see, forming an NGO, as mentioned here, it is with good intention. But when you are saying that forming an NGO, there are a lot of other things which is behind that, right? Like tax evasion, it can be money laundering, it can be, or money laundering, that is one big issue, right? That is also used for terrorist financing and everything. So that is a big issue. Tax evasion, and maybe some organizational interest, and maybe for this appeasement of the vote banks. So NGOs, opening NGO is not necessarily always good thing. Okay, but here it is told that she is doing it with a good intention. What is that? To build school for poor children. The objective of the school was to provide best quality modern education at a nominal cost. She soon discovered that she has to seek permission from a number of government agencies. Now, just because of this problem that I've mentioned, you need to get a lot of, see, otherwise NGOs are mainly nowadays used for tax evasion and money laundering. Okay, so that is the reason why a lot of sanctions and a lot of permissions are actually required. A lot of accounting and procedures are there. The rules and procedures were quite confusing and cumbersome. What frustrated her most was delays and callous attitude of officials and constant demand for bribes. Her experience and the experience of many others like her has deterred people from taking up social service projects. A measure of government control over voluntary social work is necessary, but it should not be exercised in a coercive or corrupt manner. See, control is necessary because of the problems that I've told you, but okay, they're saying everything here. What measure can you suggest to ensure that due control is exercised, but well-meaning or honest NGO efforts are not thwarted? Okay, so what they're asking you is, you give some suggestions, you can talk about some measures. So this is the thing. Some government control is required, but at the same time, it should not be affecting the honest NGO efforts who is focusing on social development, etc. Okay, so what can be done here? First, you need to tell that the problems which can come here in terms of this can be the problem, and that's the reason why this regulation is actually required. So what you can see, some standard operating procedures, and if in most of the cases you can say this standard operating procedures, SOPs has to be followed properly, and everything can be done online. Okay, so that things will be speed up, and it can be online registration, online verification. And this attitude, what we are talking about, some this attitude, this has to be changed. A proper democratic attitude has to be there. So for that, you need to sensitize the officials also. So sensitization is required. Corruption, strict action has to be there against the corrupt officials, and conviction has to be made sure. Okay, and number of laws, you can say it has to be reduced, or one single window mechanism has to be provided for permission, sanctions, and everything. Citizen charter, that we have seen before also, so that has to be there. And proper accountability, transparency, all these are what you can suggest as a procedure to balance accountability of the NGO, at the same time the functioning of the NGO, right? So the NGOs will also be following the accountability procedure. Okay, so, and you can it's like every NGO has to be submitting their financial documents every year. So that is something, what they are donating or what donations they are taking, how they are spending, and all these details has to be there, right? And some separate department has to be there to take care of this social service sectors, so that things can be done in timely basis. The clearances and everything has to be done very clearly, and the verifications, everything can be done properly. So to this, with respect to this, you can say sensitizing the officials, that is very important. And ensuring accountability, transparency is something which you need to mention in this case also. Okay, so that's about this. You've done with this 2016 also. Any doubts here?